The third critical choice that I made on my journey was to build trust. Now, for me, it started with really having to build trust in myself. So whatever, right? Like I couldn't trust myself to do anything.
It's huge. It's
I couldn't
hard.
trust myself to do anything.
No.
But even since way back when, I've still struggled with building trust in myself and thinking about how do I build this up and trust myself that I know that I got it, you know, but way back when it was just the stakes were so high. I learned that if I did the little things great things would happen. For me, the great thing that happened by doing the little things was that I trusted myself and then I earned the trust of others. So have you experienced in your life the need to build trust in yourself?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Here's the thing. I believe, and maybe this is just me trying to comfort me, but I believe that everybody has that experience. Whether or not they admit to it is another thing. But I believe everybody has to build trust in ourselves because especially women, I think societally we're taught, don't trust yourself. That intuition, don't trust that. It has to be science-based. It has to be head-based. It has to be logic-based. And as a scientist, I'm saying this, right? And I am a full believer in the science, and I'm also a full believer in that intuition. Martha Beck once was pulled aside. She's a sociologist, a Harvard trained sociologist, and has since written a whole bunch of really interesting books on manifestation. And some NPR interviewer said, "Well, you don't actually believe in all that stuff, do you?" And she's like, "Oh no, of course not. I just don't not believe it." Right? And I'm like, "Oh gosh, that's me. That's how I feel about me. Like, it's not that I believe myself. I just don't not believe." And I think there's power in that ambiguity of giving yourself the space. So there's been a lot of times when I haven't trusted myself. I'll tell you the most recent.
I want to get into how you build it.
This is literally last week. Last week I'm in the hospital, and I'm like, something is not right. Like my arm, there's something that is not right, and I'm like, I think I have a blood clot. And I tell my doctor this, and they're like, "No, IVs hurt." And I'm like, "No, this is not right." And when I tell you, like, it was 10 minutes of going back and forth with this doctor, right? White lab coat, whole 9 yards. He knows what he's doing. And I'm like, I have to trust myself. I have to advocate for myself here. I had two blood clots. Like, this is it was a great moment for me to go, yes, trust yourself. You know your body, you know yourself, you know your mind. And I'm saying that to not just myself, but anybody who's listening, like, you know yourself. Don't, just because some expert is telling you that's not the way it is, doesn't mean you should always listen. Like, listen with a grain of salt and hold true to that.
How do people inspire your trust?
By showing up as themselves. I think this is the best way that I know how to inspire trust. I am myself. Whether you see me on a podcast, you meet me on the street, or you see me on stage, like, you're gonna get the 100%. Exact same Rebecca. Like, I don't know how to be anything else. And I think the best way we can inspire trust is to stop pretending. Like, don't wear the mask. Like, I'm not a good salesperson. I'll tell you that from the start. And if I'm on a call with you and I am trying to sell you something, I'm probably going to say, I'm not a good salesperson. Like, what do I do? Like, I think people see themselves in that. My line that I use a lot is, when you show up fearless, you allow others to do the same, right? When we show up all in, it's like, oh, I see you. And if this is safe for you to do that, to be that, then maybe I can show up as who I am.
And you model that. You do. Yeah. It permeates out of you. And, it is an interesting detour us. I'm not detouring. I'm just going deeper. When we were first introduced, we had a video meeting. We hit it off. It might have been a phone call. I can't remember. Either way, it was a phone call, then video, then phone call. Doesn't matter. We hit it off. And then I even was like, okay, so did Rebecca really like embrace me? Like, was she, you know what I mean? Like, so was it a
Oh,
one-time
yeah.
experience with Rebecca, me feeling this, or is that what it feels like to be with her? And then I was lucky enough that we're part of the same, group as professional speakers. And so I've been able to experience you in other settings with other people around. And then when I delivered my first TED Talk, and I was on the program with you, and it was your third. And Rebecca, I am telling you, and even for me, like, I didn't mean to make this about me. I had to build my trust to deliver a message in a different form with a different audience in a different way in front of my peers that freaked me out. And I had to be terrified. I was like, oh, audience video? I don't care. Like, my peers are there. Oh my God.
Terrified.
But you were fearless in the way that you showed up that day. And you gave me, not just me, your full attention. It was like, I thought to myself, is she even thinking about her speech? Like, oh my God, I was in my head. But you showed up in such a way of, this is who you are. It was like, I felt like we were two friends sitting in the back having like some sparkling water and charcuterie board, talking, where I was sweating.
Man, that's enduring success for me.
But
that's great.
I tell that story because what I have experienced is what you just said, is around, people showing up and being themselves. You model that, which, especially as a woman, and then I'll get off it, but especially as a woman, then to know that it's not actually just okay. It's better for everyone when we do. It's better for everyone when we do. We elevate and fuel the success of others when we choose to show up in that way.
Yep. It's true. And I cannot let you come off of that whole stint where I'm sitting here going like, you don't know. I was definitely as scared, if not more scared, than anybody on that stage that day. And how I process, how I deal with fears is getting them in alignment, right? I get my butterflies and I'm like, okay, what can you do for somebody else right now? Because that calms me. And so this was not like, I would love to take that and be like, oh, I'm such a good person.
But
no, I was doing it. It's selfish. Like, it's totally selfish.
And it's so practical. And when I do these videos, I cut it up into separate chapters, and I can't wait for this build trust chapter, because it's such an applicable piece of advice that it was like what you were just saying about yoga and meditation. Not that we're dissing yoga and meditation because we love it, but it's like, it's here, it's present. How can I use that stress or that fear to fuel me? And a way that you do that is by helping others. And I love you for it.
Well, and I love you for it too. But listen, full pause. If you haven't watched Trish's TED Talk, when I tell you, you could hear a pin drop in that room, and it even talking about it right now, like full on, my hair is staying on end. It is one of the most powerful talks I have ever witnessed in my life, and I have witnessed a lot of them. So please go watch it. You have to see it.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Choose and Become interview series. To check out more episodes, go to www.trishkendall.com/podcast, or go to any of your favorite podcast channels, including YouTube, under Trish Kendall Speaks, and you'll find this interview and more. Choose and become.